The first component is active medium. Active medium is okay made by a ruby rod, simply a ruby rod. Now, if I look at the active medium, we have seen that active medium is of two types. One containing host, other we call it as the centers, active centers. In this, we have active centers is chromium atoms. Means that in the host crystal lattice of Al2O3, we dope the chromium atoms. Once you dope the chromium atoms will give rise to metastable states. So chromium atoms are host centers and Al2O3 is the host and chromium is the guest, or we say active center. To pump the chromium atoms from lower energy level to higher energy level, we use xenon flash. Xenon flash is a flash lamp which gives you white light. Out of that white light, to get the excitation of chromium atoms from lower energy level to higher energy level, we use 550 nanometers in the white light, and also we use 490 nanometers blue color. So these two are okay the two important ones. So, and Udaybhan is asking what is the example of multi-level laser. Multi-level laser example is carbon dioxide. CO2 is a carbon dioxide. Okay. And then you can now also see that in the white xenon flash, white light gives you 7 colors, out of which the pumping frequencies in the xenon flash for ruby to take the chromium atoms from ground state to higher energy state is the two wavelengths 550 nanometers and 490 nanometers. Then what is the resonating column? Because ruby rod is a simple solid state material, if you polish the two ends, okay, you take a file, polish it. If you polish them, the two ends themselves acts as a mirror. Therefore, there is no separate mirror arrangement is required in ruby laser. That is also one of the easiest construction part of ruby laser. Now see that I have taken a ruby rod. This is a ruby rod. This may be of zero point 0.5 mm diameter and maybe up to 1 centimeter to 10 centimeter long. This is the one ruby rod. This end is 100 polished percent polished. Therefore, there is a possibility of the light come out from this. But whereas this is 100% polished, therefore the light cannot come out of it. This is 90% polished, therefore partially polished and makes the light to come out of this one. Hence, a ruby laser consisting of a ruby rod of maybe approximately 0.5 mm diameter or 0.5 centimeter and length is 2 centimeters to 10 centimeters length. One end is completely polished 100% so that no transmission is there, and other end is 99% polished where the transmission possibility is there. To this, we take a helical xenon flash. The helical xenon flash is simply a flash lamp or a discharge lamp where a glass tube in the helical spherical form is filled with xenon gas. When the xenon gas is applied with a high voltage, then the gas gets discharged. Once it gets discharged, it takes some time to again get discharged. That means between two flashes of xenon, you should able to give some time so that xenon lamp will be ready to give next excitation. And to this, because of xenon flash is high intense light, it creates heat, and that high heat will damage this ruby rod. Therefore, we need a cooling system, and it's a water cooled system, and water cooled system cools and keeps the ruby rod not to get heated because of xenon flash. And now see that photons are there and these photons will come to one end and they get reflected and comes out of it from the partially polished one, where you will get a pulse. After some time, you will get another pulse, but still they're coherent. They maintain the coherence. Thereby, this is the construction of a ruby laser. But this construction is not sufficient to explain the lasing action of a ruby laser. The lasing action is explained by the help of a energy level diagram. So the energy level diagram is this. I have a ground state E1 and we have an excited state E3. But E3 is not a metastable state. So therefore its lifetime is low. There we require a metastable state. To get the population inversion, I have to use the external source, but I do require here a metastable state. Chromium atoms will give rise to the metastable states. So therefore, once I use the pumping, this is the pumping mechanism. Xenon flash is taking the atoms to higher energy levels. But this is not a metastable state. Therefore, they are immediately falling to metastable state where they can live longer time. When they are living longer time, okay, there is a possibility for initiating lasing action. But the transition from E3 to E2 is a non-radiative, only heat will be dissipated between these two levels, no radiation comes out of it. Once a photon, if it is dropping something like this, it gives you one photon. And see, this is now the initiating photon that goes up to here. I keep a mirror, it gets reflected. I keep another mirror, it gets reflected. And thereby one trip, one more photon will fall, and one more atom will fall, one more photon will come. Likewise, many of these photons will be coming one after the other. Hence, but you see also that once this set of photons have come, then all the atoms in the metastable excited state has come down. Therefore, no population inversion here. As there is no population inversion, second laser pulse will not come. If we want to get the second lasing pulse, then give another flash, xenon flash here. If you give xenon flash again, then atoms will go again to top and they will fall down and give rise to this. So therefore, every time once you give the xenon flash up, then we will get one pulse, something like this. Likewise, it is a pulsar laser. It is not a continuous laser. Next, we look at helium neon laser, which is shown like this. Helium neon laser construction is made by, this is a glass tube made by quartz. This is a quartz tube. Okay. And this quartz tube is fitted with two, here one window. This is the another window, which is angled window called Brewster's angles, so that the light coming out will follow Brewster's law and the light is a polarized light. To get the resonating column, I have mirror 1, mirror 2. That means helium neon laser requires mirrors. So once I give the excitation here, okay, the quartz tube is filled with helium and neon atoms in the ratio 10:1. But this is the cooling system again, and this is the lasing action. It comes you a continuous one. But look at this lasing system, okay, laser system. You have to see the energy level diagram of helium neon laser. So before going to see this one, that is the helium neon laser, I have to write what is the active medium. So in helium neon laser, active medium is helium and neon in the ratio 10 is to 1. I'll take helium, this is helium, this is helium. So for every 10 helium atoms, I take one neon atom. And active medium is the helium neon gas. And in this active medium, host is generally okay one which provides the material for holding impurities. So here host is helium, and the active center which provides metastable states and lasing action is because of okay neon. So neon is the active center. Now to understand how the lasing action takes place in helium neon laser, here I'll get a continuous wave here. I look at the energy level diagram. The energy level diagram shows you, first I am giving here helium levels. So as I am taking helium gas in a glass tube, I produce very high voltage within the two electrodes, and these two electrodes will discharge and helium atoms gets ionized, and this is called okay this impact ionization, and this ionization takes the helium atoms to excited state. Now I draw here the energy levels of neon. Neon energy levels are almost same as that of helium atoms. I have here 20, almost 20.6, 20.6. I have here 18, here is 19. Now, the helium atoms which are get ionized in the glass tube, they will start moving in the electric field applied between the two electrodes, and these will get ionized and they hit the neon atoms. While hitting the neon atoms, they transfer their energy into neon atoms. That we call it as okay energy transfer by collisions. Once energy is transferred by helium atoms to neon atoms will go to higher energy. So here we have neon atoms because of preferential transfer of energy from helium to neon. You may ask another question also, because neon atom can also transfer energy to helium, but that is not possible. This is not possible because we have 10 helium atoms for one neon, and therefore the chances of impact of neon atoms to helium atom is very less. Hence helium atoms only will transfer energy to neon once, and thereby okay as it is a metastable state, then one of the atoms will fall from this energy state to this energy state, giving rise to 3.39 microwave wavelength, which is not in visible spectrum. And again there is a fall from that 20.66 to 18.7, which is a large difference, and it gives you that 6320 Armstrong units, which is a laser beam in red color. And there is another transition from this 1.15 micrometers, which is also not in visible region, but this is also lasing action. Once the lasing action is completed, the atoms which are there in higher level, this level, they will fall down spontaneously, giving rise to spontaneous emission of 600 nanometers, which is not part of laser. And then they will fall here radiationless from this level to the ground level. Those atoms which are fall down to ground level, they will be again taken by the applied voltage and they go up and they go up. Therefore, continuously we have in this helium neon laser the population inversion. Therefore, we have a continuous output coming from the helium neon laser. Once the atoms comes up to this, they lost most of the energy because they come up to this. And the energy they lost will be due to the collisions with the walls of the tube. They will collide with the walls of the tube and they lose energy. That's why it is radiation less transition. They come to the. So therefore, lasing action in helium neon laser is due to the energy transfer of helium atoms to neon atoms, and neon atoms will provide metastable states and they will give you many wavelengths. Out of these many wavelengths, we have to adjust the distance between the mirrors so that only 30 to 20 will satisfy the condition L equal to n lambda by 2. Therefore, that light only will come, other light will not come. Therefore, what light we want to get out of it, that depends on the distance between this mirror and the other mirror. These mirrors, this mirror and this mirror are important. I adjust this length between these two. L is equal to n times lambda by 2. And I see that this is satisfied only for lambda is equal to 632 nanometers. Therefore, we'll get right light out of it. And we cannot get any other light out of this. So if I change this L value by adjusting the distance between the two mirrors, I can allow other light rays to come out. That is the way in which helium neon laser works. Okay. So I stop here. The next class we will see yeah, any doubts you can ask me.
Sir,
Yeah,
can you please explain the host and the active center's difference, sir?
yeah. Host is a large bulk material. Just like I'll take now example of silicon material. Okay, silicon is a host in which I add the dopant to make it n-type material, p-type material. So dopants may be pentavalent atoms or trivalent atoms. So host is silicon, pentavalent atom or trivalent atom like boron, okay, nitrogen. They are the active centers. So similarly, in lasers also, I take Al2O3 crystal. In that Al2O3 crystal, I replace some of the Al2 atoms by chromium atoms. And chromium atoms are very few in number. They are not large in number. They will act as a active centers which are defects in Al2O3 crystal. So therefore, Al2O3 is a host which held the impurities like chromium. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Any other?
Thank you, sir.
Right. So anybody those are having any clarifications required, they can ask me now. Yeah, tell me. Hello. Yes.
Sir, can you please share the PPT, sir?
Yeah, I'll share the PPT soon. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow we have also a class. I'll complete this helium, neon, and NDR lasers. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow we'll complete lasers chapter, which is very small, and then I'll send the PPT and also notes for this lasers.
Yes, sir.
So anybody else, any other doubts in this, you can ask me. But I have a question. What are the three important components of a laser or parts of a laser? Anybody, can you type? You can, in the chart, you can type what are the three important components of a laser, any laser. Whether it is solid
Active medium, sir.
active medium one. Okay, good. Next. Active medium is 1, okay, which is consisting of
Pumping source.
pumping. Yes, pumping is required to get population inversion. Next, third is resonating column.
Cavity.
Resonating time.
Yeah, resonating column or resonance wave. So therefore, laser reaction itself is a resonance between the incident photon, okay, which is called matching photon. Einstein called it as a matching photon, okay, with the photon which is emitted by the excited atom and coming into downs lower. That is called a matching photon. So matching photon is required. That matching photon initiate the lasing action. The matching photon we are not supplying. The spontaneously fallen inside the lasing material itself is a matching photon. The spontaneously emitted photon is that. Yes, anybody else? And I have one more question for this. How many types of lasers are there now? Types of lasers.
Based on active medium, 3 types:
Yeah, what are they?
solid state laser, liquid state laser, and gaseous state laser.
Yes. Okay. So can you give one example for solid state laser?
Solid state lasers are ruby laser,
Yeah.
and semiconductor lasers we have diode gallium arsenic laser.
Yes. Next we have ND ag lasers. Okay. ND stands for neodymium. Neodymium is a dopant. Okay. YAG, YAG means yttrium aluminum garnet. That we will see in the next class. What is that ND ag laser? Okay. So based on active medium, these are the lasers. But based on energy levels,
We have 3-level laser, 4-level laser, and multi-level laser.
but remember that 2-level laser is not possible.
Yes, sir.
Why? 2-level lasers are not possible. Anybody can?
Because maybe we need to have an extra metastable state in between.
Population inversion.
Population inversion is not.
Yes, population inversion cannot be achieved. Why? Because by the time I send 50% of the atoms to higher level, okay, the first reached atom completes its metastable state lifetime of 1 millisecond, it falls down. And thereby, if I want to send another one, the next one will complete its lifetime, it will fall. Therefore, always I will have only 50% maximum at the top and 50% at the down. Therefore, I cannot have more than 50% atoms in the 2-level lasers. If more than 50% is not there, means that the population inversion is not achieved. So therefore, 2-level system, energy level system cannot give lasing action. That is the most important aspect. Yes. So based on the another classification of laser, one is active medium, other is the energy levels involved. Next is output of the lasers. What are the outputs of the laser? Laser
Pulsed
output may be
lasers.
continuous or may be
Pulsed.
pulsed. Pulsed lasers today they are most important. We have femtosecond, means every femtosecond difference pulse will come, and that is will have very high energy, and that high energy lasers are used for sophisticated research activities. These are very costly also. Okay, the laser what we have used in our lab is helium-ion laser. Yes. So any more? And another important question I am asking is that, okay, what is the difference between pulsed laser and a continuous laser? The important difference between pulsed laser and this is simply that the light output is continuous for every time, whereas pulsed laser gives you only a pulse and there is a gap, and again there is pulse. Okay, so I stop the meeting here, and in the tomorrow class we will complete the two important lasers, Nd:YAG laser and the semiconductor laser, and we will list some of the applications of lasers. So tomorrow class will,
Sir,
yeah.
sir, can you send the record of this class and before class?
Yeah, before class I don't think I have a record, but I'll for this I will see and I'll send. Huh? If it is there.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Right. Okay.